Hi guys, this is BBU-timization. In this video, I'm going to introduce you functional programming in Python. Functional programming is useful to avoid the use of for loops. If you have ever programmed with any computer languages, you should know for loop is a statement to iterate over a sequence, and it is inevitable to use such a statement like for loop and while loop. So here's an example of for loop in Python. Basically, we need an iterable and body. Iterable is an object or sequence we can iterate over, and the body is a particular process for each element in iterable. Python provides three functions that can replace with for loops: map, filter, and reduce. They are easy to use and make your code more readable and concise. Okay, then let's look at each function. The first one is map function. Now we have a short list called myList that has numbers from 0 to 9. And suppose we want to have a process to make each element get squared. That is, the same process, the power of 2, will be applied to each element in my list. So the input and output will have the same size. In order to do it, there can be three options. The first one is for loop. The second one is map function. The last one is map with lambda function. If we want to use for loop, one of the ways to code it is this. That is, we define a new list for output, and each element in my list gets squared and appended to the new list. Let's look at the result. So you can see each element in my list gets squared. As a second option, we can use map function. In order to use map function, we have to predefine a predefined function because this will be used as an argument of map function. Then the first argument of map function is this predefined function, and the second argument is iterable. So by using map function, each element in an iterable is processed by this predefined function, which is the first argument of map function. This is how map function is working. And make sure to convert the output from map function into list. Let's see the result, and you can see this output is same to the output from for loop. For the last option, we can use map function along with lambda function. Lambda function is a single expression function, and it can be very useful for defining one-time use function. So instead of defining such predefined function, we can directly define a simple function in an argument of map function. So in this lambda function, this x is an argument, and this is the body of the lambda function. And the second argument of map function is my list, which is iterable. Then let's print out the result. And you can see all these three approaches give the same result. The next one is filter function. We still have this my list, and suppose we want to have a process to take only odd numbers from my list. That is, the same criteria will be applied to each element in my list for filtering out even numbers. So the output size is equal to or smaller than the input size. There are three options for doing it. The first one is for loop. And the second one is filter function with predefined function. And the last one is filter with lambda function. If we want to use for loop, we can code it like this. So we define a new list for output, and each element of my list will be tested to see if it is odd number. If so, the element is appended to the new list. So let's see the result. So you can see now we only have odd numbers from my list. The second option is to use filter function with predefined function. Then the predefined function will be the first argument of the filter function, and the iterable will be the secondary argument. Then each element of iterable will be processed by this predefined function. So the predefined function would have some process to see if each element satisfies some condition. And the filter function takes only elements that return true. So you can see this output is same to this output. The last option is filter with lambda function. As we saw in map function, we can also define a lambda function in argument of filter function. So in this lambda function, this is the argument of the lambda function, and here is the body of the lambda function. And the second argument of filter function is iterable. So now we can check all these three approaches give the same result. The last one is reduce function, and we will still use my list. And suppose we want to make a sum of all elements in my list. And I'm going to show you how to use reduce function for it. Once we run reduce function with some predefined function and iterable, then the predefined function takes the first two elements as its inputs and make the corresponding output. Then the output and the third element become the inputs of the predefined function, and then the next output and the fourth element become the inputs of the predefined function. And this scheme is iterated over by the last element. So I will show you three approaches for making a sum of my list. The first one is for loop. The second one is reduce function with predefined function. And the last one is reduce function with lambda function. So we can use for loop like it. We define a variable to store the sum of elements. And each element in my list is added iteratively. Then it turns out that the sum of list is 45. The next one is to use reduce function. And when you use reduce function, make sure to import reduce from function tools. This is different from map and filter function. To use reduce function, we can define a predefined function, and note that this function takes two inputs, and it is the first argument of reduce function, and the second argument is iterable. Then this predefined function takes the first two elements as its input, and the output of the first two elements become the input of predefined function with third element. And this scheme is processed by the end of the list. And you can see each output is same to the output of the for loop. The last one is to use reduce function with the lambda function. And like map and the filter function, we can also define lambda function in an argument of reduce function. And note that this lambda function has two inputs. And here is the body of the lambda function. And the second argument of reduce function is iterable. And you can see all these three approaches give the same answer, the 45. In this video, we have seen map, filter, and reduce functions to replace with for loop. Thanks for watching, and please leave any comments if you have any questions.